Hey all, this is Esme. I come on here and share my journey of faith. And today I wanted to talk about fruitfulness, and I want to talk about it in terms of a time frame. I don't know about you all, but I feel impatient to grow in the things of God. There's this sense of urgency to be about my Father's business. There's this sense of urgency to bear fruit, to grow in the grace and knowledge of God, and to participate in kingdom work. I don't know if that's just me or if some of you feel it too. And I do understand that we're not perfected on this side of earth, and that's okay, but there's still this deep desire to grow. I keep thinking I should be further along than I am. I don't know if that's something you struggle with, but I keep thinking that every time I think I've figured it out, I just discover a whole new area of theology that I didn't know about. I discover a deeper depth of love for my Father that I didn't even know was possible. And it just keeps growing in terms of this world. This world is vast with the things of God, vast. And I'm really having a good time exploring the different avenues. Like God said, you shall do exploits. I love the inklings of exploits. I feel like I haven't even begun to scratch the surface. I haven't even begun on my journey, and I'm 6 years in. But then there's this notion of 3 years that I'm finding a thread running through the Bible. It's as if it takes 3 years for a Christian to reach maturity. And now when I talk about maturity, I don't mean like fully formed fruit. I just mean like at least begin to bear fruit within a 3-month notion. I haven't found any Bible verse that explicitly says so, but again, we glean patterns from the Bible, and sometimes we are able to infer what the Bible is saying to us. And so today I wanted to come here and explore some of these verses with you and see if you'll come to the same conclusion. Of course, feel free to say in the comment section if you disagree or if you agree, and then we can continue to sharpen one another, learning to rightly divide the word. Okay, let's get going. I first wanted to start with the verse. I've got my laptop right here in front of me, that's why I'm looking down. And I wanted to see if you had noticed, this is John 15, verse 2 and verse 5. There seems to be a progression, and it reads, "Every branch in me that does not bear fruit," this is Jesus talking, this is John's account of Jesus talking, "every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes it, so that it may bear more fruit. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, he bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing." This is John 15. Now, when you read that verse, it's easy to just say, okay, they're talking about bearing fruit. But there's actually a progression, because in the first line, it talks about every branch that bears fruit. So every branch that bears fruit, just mere fruit. But then it goes on to say that you are then pruned, and the pruning is supposed to result in you bearing more fruit. That's a progression, right? You can bear fruit when you're pruned, and we all know the pruning process. It's painful. It's a shearing, the cutting off of excesses, the removing of that which does not help you, laying aside every weight, throwing aside everything that hinders, and the sin that so easily entangles. And that is in the beginning chapter of Hebrew 12. And then it goes on to say, "He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit." All right, so let's take it from the top. So here we go. There's an expectation that every branch will bear fruit. And then there's a progression where you get pruned, resulting in you bearing more fruit. And then the closer you learn to abide with the Father and the Father in you, now you bear much fruit. That's where I'm coming from when I think about this 3-year notion, that at the 3-year mark, we should begin to bear fruit. Yes, progressively, as we grow in the things of God, we're going to bear more fruit as we're pruned and we're sheared and we're taught lessons and we fall and scrape our knees and get back up and keep going. And then the closer we learn to abide with the Father and the Father in us, now we start to bear much fruit. That's when we're making such a difference for the kingdom, because again, the Father intends to work through us to bring about his agenda here on earth. He created us for a purpose. We've been lied to, and we don't seem to think there's a reason. We're just here trying to figure out life, but there's a distinct purpose for which we were created. And when we then choose to abide in him and him in us, we start to bear much fruit, precisely because now we are working on the Father's agenda here on earth. It's no longer about our ideas. It's no longer about our goals, our purposes, our dreams. It's no longer about that which we think we ought to be doing. At that moment, it becomes about, what does the Father want me to do? And because you're abiding in him and He's abiding in you. You're actually able to hear what He's telling you to do. He's telling you, today I want you to do this, today I want you to do the other, and in this moment drop what you're doing and do this instead. And now you really begin to bear much fruit for the kingdom, because you've stopped living for yourself and now you're living for the mandate. You're living for the purpose for which you came. You've stepped fully into your ordination and you're becoming everything the Father created you to be. I just think that is so interesting to note, the journey of faith that we come in, we're expected to bear fruit. And you can't bear fruit when you're brand new. You have to sit down and become a student of the word first. You have to become mentored by the Holy Spirit. You have to begin to be able to understand how God speaks, to understand the voice of God. So there can be no expectation for fruit to be born right away. It's going to be bitter and raw, I imagine. It's got to ripen a little bit before you can start giving it out. And I suspect that it's not a hard and fast rule, but it seems to imply that 3 years is the mark. And we're going to look at this in the next video, just because I don't want this one to be that very long. So I think we're going to wrap this one up here for now. But tomorrow, or the next video after this one, I'll do a video listing all the verses that I think that should give us a bit of a guidance. Because again, if we're approaching something with no deadline in mind, or no type of goal we're aiming for, or no time frame stamped upon it, then we feel lost in the vastness of it all. Some of us need order and structure. Much as we're rebels without a cause, we still need like order and structure in some of these things to be able to move forward accordingly. And so I was going to share that part of my journey with you on the next one. All right, I'm in Amsterdam. I got my hair braided. It finally grew just long enough to be able to snatch up those coils and like braid. I love braided hair, but I haven't been able to braid it for so long because I've kept my hair short for about 3 years now. And I'm probably going to continue to keep it short for another 2 years. And then I'll probably after that will start to grow it. But for now, I was able to braid it, which I love. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you now. Bye. Oof.